Mmm.
Hey, it's day 345 of the Educator Chipotle Challenge. WhooHoo, it's Miss Abby. Come here. WhooHoo, are you ready? It's time for Mr. Nenni's Educator Shout Out Interview. Let's go. All right, WhooHoo, let's roll out. WhooHoo, can you get the door for me? Hey folks, it's Kayla Ebby here with the Educator Chipotle Challenge. I'm super excited for this Educator Shout Out interview because I have one of the beloved educators that I get the privilege of working with and know that students are like super thrilled to have in class. So without further ado, who are you and who's your friend? Who's our friend?
My name is Mr. Nenni, math teacher in Davis, and this is WhooHoo, the panda bear.
WhooHoo! Thanks for being here today, Mr. Nenni and WhooHoo. Mr. Nenni, from a current and former student perspective, can you name and describe one or more educators who have positively impacted your life and how they've made a difference?
Absolutely. One of the teachers that I remember most was my 8th grade science teacher, Mrs. Bergen. She had this profound impact on me because she made science really fun in such a way that I actually remember it. I remember doing bottle rockets, shooting them off in the park after spending weeks designing them. I remember dressing up as an element on the periodic table of elements and coming up with a personality for that element. I remember doing mock science fair projects. She did so many wonderful things to bring science alive for us.
Mr. Nenni, do you happen to remember what element you were?
It was selenium.
Can you tell the class what selenium is? Do you remember?
I don't remember all the details, unfortunately.
That's okay, because I was going to learn myself in that moment. Awesome.
So Mrs. Bergen, who was a great help and inspiration to me when I was in her 8th grade science class. Just so happens, when I first became a teacher and I got my first job teaching math, she was also a math teacher that I was teaching with at my first placement.
What?
So, in addition to her inspiring me and encouraging me as an 8th grade science student, she got to inspire and encourage me again as I first became a math teacher.
Oh.
I am truly grateful for all the positive energy and for the inspiration and the amazing ideas that she shared with me throughout the years, both as a junior high student and as a full-fledged math teacher. So thank you again, Mrs. Bergen.
Wow, talk about full circle of impact right there. That's awesome. I feel really good about what you just said. I can only imagine what it feels like for you to have that be part of your story and journey from junior high and discovering that you have a passion for working with young people and teaching and being a mentor and having a similar impact that she had on you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Mr. Nenni, from your perspective as a former and current student, because I know that you consider yourself a lifelong learner, and a current educator, what resources are necessary to have at school that support students' mental, social, emotional health, and well-being?
From a student perspective, what I appreciated the most in junior high and high school was opportunities to be a part of the community. I remember participating in a web design contest for our local Rotary Club, and I remember doing volunteer work in 8th grade, followed by a field trip to celebrate the impact that we have. And then as a current teacher, what I feel like would help students a lot would be more opportunities to have physical things in class to touch and to play with and to learn with. Things like games, things like manipulatives, materials for big projects, things that can make our subjects come alive and make everything more interesting and fun.
And those things, you know, as an educator, because you've witnessed it, you are such an amazing like dynamic teacher that provides those things already in your classroom. You can tell that when they have that engagement, when they are really invested in math, and are, whether they're fully understanding it or not, that those things support their overall well-being and mental health.
I see it every day. When students are really enjoying learning with me, I can see it from the smiles on their faces, from the way that they happily say, "I'll see you tomorrow" on their way out, and from the way that they tell me, when sometimes people aren't listening, that they're really glad to be here.
I gotta say, Nenni, that I mean, I know that I've said this, but it's imperative, I think, that as educators, we hear this every now and then, the impact that we're having and that we're making a difference. And I can tell you that, like, I just read an email this morning that said that their daughter is coming home after summer school each day excited about math and is like really more invested in math than she's ever been. So whether it's the manipulatives or the ways that you engage your students and build relationships, I mean, you are making a difference and you are positively influencing their well-being and mental health.
Thank you, Kayla.
You're so welcome.
It really does feel good hearing that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Is there anything else that you want to add for yourself as a student? What you wish there were more of, or would have benefited you in school?
I'd say that the one thing that I wish I had more of in junior high and high school was just opportunities to practice working with other people, because I was the type of student that preferred to just be alone. And then when I got to college and when I got to my jobs in real life, I realized how much time and energy I needed to put into working with teams. So I wish I'd had more practice with that.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Mr. Nenni, what advice would you share with your teenage self, other teenagers or students watching this, and other educators or aspiring educators?
I think my advice to my younger self would have been to spend a little bit less time maybe playing all the video games that I played, and a little bit more time out there trying to figure out what it is that I'm really passionate about. It would have been nice to figure out that I liked being a teacher a little bit earlier.
Okay. And for those that are coming into this profession, any words of wisdom?
Going into the profession of being a teacher?
Yeah.
My biggest words of wisdom for those coming into being a teacher is just to be positive and be passionate. There are so many different ways that you can teach the curriculum that you're going to teach, but no matter which way you teach it, as long as you are positive and you are passionate and you are there every day showing students that you want to be there and you're excited to have them in your class and you love what you're teaching, that's what really makes a classroom great, is having that energy and getting those students to give that energy back.
Awesome. Do you have any, I know that with each person it's individualized to their style. Do you have any tips that might be transferable to somebody else in their own style? How to engage students?
Yeah. To engage students best, you got to find a way to be yourself and let other students be in on that. Bring your passions into the classroom, whatever it may be, whether it's sports, whether it's TV shows, maybe you're an artist, but make sure that other students can have access to that as well. For example, for me, I keep a wall on one side of my room where I just have all the things that I love that I can share with students when we have just a moment to ourselves. Like all the video games that I love to play, the sports teams that I follow, art from students in the past, silly comics that students can read if they have a minute, things that students can come up to me and talk to me about outside of just math. That way we really feel like a community together. We're all sharing the same passions.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing some of those things. And for holding up WhooHoo. What is the story behind WhooHoo? Behind this version of WhooHoo?
So WhooHoo was originally an adopted friend from a family member that couldn't take care of them anymore. And now WhooHoo is an awesome mascot that I've passed on to you. And now WhooHoo gets to be just the symbol of passion and joy that makes us all feel welcome in a school.
Yes. Passion and joy. Gosh, we gotta think of other ways to incorporate WhooHoo into the everyday kind of DV
Sure.
land. Like even if they reside in my office, by you saying the symbol of joy and passion, like, yeah.
I wonder if when we give WhooHoos, we could have them shake WhooHoo's hand or give them a high five or something.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah, right?
Are you sure you don't want WhooHoo back in your classroom?
I could take WhooHoo back in my classroom. I could give it a shot.
We could talk more about it. Okay. How you doing, WhooHoo? Does WhooHoo have a voice?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm no ventriloquist. Not one of my talents.
I know some things, but I don't know if it's quite fitting for WhooHoo the panda. All right, that's besides the point. Mr. Nenni, who or what inspired you to become an educator?
So when I was done with high school and I was working through college, I spent time during the summer volunteering in elementary schools as an aide for the summer school classrooms. And what I found was my inspiration for being a teacher came directly from the students that I was working with. The students that I all worked with each summer were just really glad to have me there. They really appreciated having someone there to help them while they were learning and playing and doing their summer school games and activities. And I found that as I transitioned to becoming a teacher, that became my favorite part of it as well. My favorite part every day of the school year is coming in and getting to see the students that I work with. Getting to work with them and see how happy they are, how they grow as we work through the year. I'm getting to learn about all the various passions that each of them has. There's so many diverse things that they care about, that they're interested in. That's really what being a teacher is all about for me. It's just all the students I get to interact with on a daily, weekly, monthly, and all the new students every year that I get to see.
It's definitely evident that you take time to personally get to know or personalize your interactions with students and to get to know a little piece of their story and their background. And I mean, I don't know all the tricks of the trade of being a teacher, but I would say that you got one of those most important ones down, building that relationship.
Thank you.
And connecting with them. So that is one of the most rewarding parts of your career as an educator. What are the most challenging parts about being an educator for you?
I think the most challenging part for me is the drive to keep doing better. I have to constantly and actively recognize that I'm still a human being. I'm only one person. And while I want to be perfect and I want to help every student as best as I possibly can, I have to have limits as well so I don't overwork myself, so I don't burn myself out. So the most challenging part for me is putting those limits in place so that I can come into the classroom fresh and ready to go every day and not be too stressed out and worried about other things.
Amen. I mean, I second that for sure.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. And I've seen you for the last few years kind of work through that challenge and find ways to take care of yourself, to lessen the burnout probability. Do you have any specific tips or things that have worked for you to help prevent that?
The two things for me have been, the first is to be organized, because the more organized you are, the less things hit you by surprise. And that's one of the things that really caught me off guard being a teacher, was how many things I just didn't realize came up so quickly. Important dates, exams that I had to prepare, lessons that I needed to be working on. As long as I have some sort of organized system, it makes it all go a lot more smoothly. It takes less time for me to do and frees up more time to just be me and be a better teacher. And the other thing for me is definitely to get as much prepared in advance as possible. The more you've prepared in advance, the easier things go throughout the school year.
Words of encouragement from one of the great educators himself. Mr. Nenni, what types of mental health challenges do you see our students facing, and how can we help them?
I think one of the hardest and one of the most common that I see is just a struggle with anxiety, depression, or both at the same time. There's a lot of students that they hide it pretty well, but they come into the class with just this sense of despair or dread. And it is one of the top things I've seen that really prevents a student from joining in and experiencing that joy and passion that so many others do when they really enjoy learning. I think the best way to help students like that is first and foremost to get to know them a little bit better. When you get to know somebody a little bit better, they become more comfortable around you. And when they're more comfortable around you, the anxiety and the depression lessens, even if it's just a little bit. And then the other thing is patience. Lots and lots of patience. Issues that deep don't fix themselves in a day or a week or even a month. Celebrate the little victories and patiently wait as the student slowly grows stronger. Support them as they grow, get to know them, and be patient.
That's a great reminder for all of us.
It's a great reminder for life.
Yeah, in general.
Not just the school.
Not just the school, and not just teenagers that we work with from grades 7 through 9, just like people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know them and be patient and support them, offering your helping hand in whatever way you are able to do. That's, yeah, and a great reminder that it doesn't resolve itself so quickly, if at all, completely, right? Like it's a lifelong journey, whether you have anxiety, depression, or you're not quite sure what that gut feeling, that like churning stomach feeling is. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Mr. Nenni, who did you shout out to today?
Shouted out to my former science teacher, Mrs. Bergen.
Mrs. Bergen. Thank you for supporting Mr. Nenni. He is now an educator, full circle of impact, making a difference in the lives of so many. All right, this is Kayla Ebby and
WhooHoo the panda.
WhooHoo the panda.
And Mr. Nenni.
Mr. Nenni. Much love, keep it real, be kind to yourself and others. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Nenni?
Peace.
Peace.